Hi, Master Peter Brusso here. It's a reboot of our Defender Central podcast series. And my co-host for a little while is Harry Koch. Harry, say good morning, Harry, or afternoon. It's afternoon, Harry. Say good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Harry.
There you go. So Harry is a neighbor and former NYPD officer. So I think he's going to add a lot to our discussion of the Defenders. He was introduced to the Defenders and has been tracking what they do and this and that. And we'll get into that a little bit. Harry, let's hear a little bit about your background.
Okay, I'm a 10-year retired NYPD crime scene sergeant. I've worked through the riot team and undercover, plainclothes, mass crowd situations, anti-crime. I primarily, when I started my first 7 years, was in the New York City transit system, where along with, as your book is, tactics are so important in that job. Tactics are everything, situational awareness. So yes, I do have a lot involved with what you're talking and what your book is about.
Yeah, I think you're going to add quite a bit, and along the way, as we do our podcasting, where we'll talk about current events and current attacks and violence, and discuss different things. Because one of the big things that this podcast is all about is that times have changed since the last time I was doing a lot of podcasting. It was about pain compliance, where we get people to stop trying to hurt us, by essentially issuing pain to them. Well, that's out the window now. Now it's just you have to inflict enough injury to make them stop, or not function as a human being. That's kind of sort of my big shift. And then the shift into the books and giving more intellectual property to a Defender owner. It used to be, let me see here. Here we go. It used to be when you get a Defender, all I did was teach you how to issue some pain, but I never really talked to you about situational awareness. I never got into the meat of how you survive on the street. Now it's all changed, and that's why I think you're going to be an important part of this podcast series. Is you lived a lot of years out there, amongst the just the people we're talking about, and how to deal with things. So when you first saw the Defenders, what was your opinion? Did you know what they were? And then when you learned what they were, what did you think?
When I first saw your Defenders, I thought it was a fantastic idea to have a new form of non-lethal self-defense, because that is always a key factor. And being something that may not be as known to others out there, it also adds this intimidation and this fear factor in this. What is this exactly? The practicality of it is fantastic when it comes down to it. Your videos that you do put on do give you assistance in how this could be used. I mean, when we talk about, like we had spoke about situational awareness.
Hi, Master Peter Russo again. This little video is all about number one of the things you need for your own self-defense plan, which boils down to understanding situational awareness. That's number one. And it's been defined, situational awareness shoot has been studied and defined by about everybody and their brother, from governments, organizations, pilots, fighter pilots, all kinds of different things. And of course, being in combat, you live in the now. You do get tunnel vision from time to time, but that's an intensity issue. But situational awareness is what you've got to learn to do. It's not something you're born with completely, although there is some evidence to that. You need to live in the now, as the Buddhists would say. So situational awareness. Let me digress so briefly here. When I go out for walks, many times I go out as an engineer and I have a problem or whatever I'm thinking about, and or an entrepreneur building a business, whatever. And I'll talk to myself out there walking around the desert, and then answering myself and coming back with the answer. Well, the problem of that is my situational awareness wasn't 100%. I would scan, which I've learned to do very early on in my life, to scan. I know most people are around me. I'm constantly scanning behind them and looking around them. And they think I'm being rude, but it's just me. I scan. I scan for problems. I scan for shooters. I scan for any issues that aren't normal, or some that appear to be normal and shouldn't be normal, all that kind of good stuff. But that takes many, many, many years of development to be able to scan. And you scan both with your eyes, your ears, your smell, sometimes touch, feel, and then your intuition, your gut. What does your ki tell you? There's ki energy here. And so you integrate all of that. And in some cases, you can actually remote view. I call it local viewing, but you can literally project yourself in a local area to feel things. And this all comes back from the 1st Earth Battalion days, but our training. And so situational awareness is really important. Where we don't typically have it is like when we're watching TV. We want to get immersed in that technology and enjoy that. And you don't want to be, as my guys used to say, sensei system high, which means I'm switched on, complete in oneness in our fighting or whatever we're doing. It's completely encompassing of me and my spirit. So for you need to develop situational awareness. For example, if you commute to work, I used to spend all that time when I would commute to work listening to podcasts and learning stuff. And, I'd still be scanning and looking because you are driving a vehicle, but maybe not as intense as you might be or could be. What was the license plates that are passing by you? You memorize license plates that are passing by you and things like that. But you also look at the people and you try to feel the people. And does anything not feel right? And by the way, you always hear about women's intuition. It's absolutely correct. And unfortunately, a lot of time women don't follow their intuitive nature. And I have some good stories about those. But anyway, so I want you to concentrate on living in the now. Do it 3, 4, 5 times a day. Hold it as long as you can, and just try to increase that living in the now. Sometimes you may be eating, and so listen to all the tinkles of coffee cups or people's conversations without looking at them, and start to put out your feelings. Who feels right? Who feels wrong? Who's upset? Who's tired? Who's this? Who's that? And that starts to help develop your awareness, your situational awareness to threats in your local environment. And that will serve you well when it comes time to defend yourself. If you get out of that car, you're living in the now. You're looking at safe zones, unsafe zones. If you had to fight, get off that curb. All these things on people coming at you. What do you feel? What are you seeing? Moving directly out of their 3-foot rule. Get out of their 3-foot space. Or sometimes you go into their 3-foot space on purpose to upset them. But learn to develop your own situational awareness. We're all individuals. We all tend to do things differently and notice things differently. Take all those factors into account because there's no one singular answer, but you must be aware of your surroundings as you might need to defend yourself. And you can know when to turn that on and when to turn that off, like you're watching TV.
One thing I picked up as being somebody like myself, I lived in a situational awareness environment, and we live in a tactical state for our active time, you being military, me being police. But for your average person out there, it's so important. We fail to see that persons don't see the world through our eyes and the way we observe and we see and we exhibit our body language, they exhibit their body language, and things that normal persons don't pick up on or observe. And your defenders or something that give you the ability to maintain the correct level of force, but give you the ability to go to the next level if necessary based on the aggressiveness of the tool.
Yeah, the I'm hard over on no one has the right to hurt you. And, unlike a knife or a gun, if they get a hold of this, they really don't know what it is. They don't know how to use it on you, typically. And so I think that's an important aspect. But like a gun, and I know you and many people conceal carry, and there comes a time, I think, when you do need to reach out and touch somebody like that. But when you get put in jail and then you have to go through the court system, well, how did you really know they were going to hurt you? That's a tough one. Now, Rittenhouse did well with his because they had a gun or they had whatever, and they're right on top of them. It was the on top of them that really was some of the issue. And these tools can only be used when somebody's literally on top of you. They're within arm's reach. And anybody that's within arm's reach trying to hurt you, like we saw with this bodega incident in the Bronx. Are you familiar? You've got to be familiar with bodegas, right?
With bodegas, absolutely.
Yeah.
Basically, they're low end little markets that basically sell beer and cigarettes and minimal amount of grocery items, and they pretty much open around the clock. So anytime that somebody's looking to get something in the middle of the night, that's where they're going, is to their local bodega.
Right. Well, I'd never heard of it before because I've been to New York City like 5 times maybe. Anyway. But with the situation of this guy getting, essentially going to be killed, he defended himself, and now he's the victim. So, we'll be talking about these things because there's more and more of them out there. But I'd rather discourage somebody with a defender, seriously discourage them, than necessarily take their life. It gives you that option. Of course, then the guy's girlfriend was stabbing the 40. How old was this guy? He was old. He was above 50 anyway, somewhere in there. Stabbing him while he was trying to protect himself. So somebody jumped in to help out. But we'll talk about those things downstream. So the defenders, a lot of the people that have guns, and I have guns, they just think, oh, that's all I need. Not true, in my opinion. Because guns jam, you run out of ammunition because you don't know how to shoot well or whatever. Somebody actually disarmed, was going to use his Glock and ejected the magazine. And it's just like, oops, now what? And so layered approach has always been something that's been on my bailiwick forever. Long distance, and then they close the medium distance, and they close the short distance, and they're on top of you, and now we're on the ground, and now we're underwater, or it just keeps going down. And what are you going to do? And we never talk about defending ourselves in the water. But in my world, there was a lot of that, and things do change. You can't punch or kick in the water. It's 633 times more dense than air. Now, all your punching and kicking, throw that out now. And you go to grab somebody with a wrist lock, and they just spin around because gravity is the thing that makes a wrist lock work. And now you have extremely low gravity in the water. So now what do? That's a whole nother topic. But so layered approaches to your defense is, I think, really, really, really important. How do you feel about that?
Well, I feel a big part of the advantages or disadvantages of having the knowledge of how to utilize a tool as the defender versus a firearm is really boils down to me what level of force is necessary within your rights to defend yourself. Just because somebody is bigger than you or has, say, maybe a weapon of their own that isn't a deadly weapon, you would not necessarily have the justification for a firearm. Then in turn, your firearm unless you're trained well enough to secure your weapon and defend your weapon, you've put yourself in even more danger. So to have these tools available and be able to utilize less than lethal weapons is a huge key to what you need to survive.
You bring up
an understanding levels of force.
You're bringing up a good point, weapons retention. I don't think enough time is spent on weapons retention. And how do you feel about that statement? Did you catch that, Harry? How do you feel about weapons retention? I don't think there's enough time spent on teaching weapons retention.
Absolutely. That is a big part of today's problematic situation involving guns.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they're more focused on who has, rather than that the person's properly trained with the tools that they have. Guns don't kill people. People using guns kill people. And that's no different than if you were to use a hammer. Everything is a weapon when used.
Think you can work with that? A CD-ROM. Well, I can't put my finger in it. So how's that? I mean, like, I could maybe, like, you know, use it to press it, you know, like, press like that, maybe, but. Well. You think? Would never think to do that. 3 points? 3 points, exactly. Just by accident? I mean, that's slap. Ow! See, I don't actually touch you. There's a difference in this. But how cool is that? Huh? It's who thinks to do this? That's what I'm saying. It's so simple. It's like, and it's around you. Everybody has this in their car. Take the shard. Yeah. In the ear. Up the nose. Bang. Up the. Oh my God. The person that you do that with, if you send it in his ear canal, he's going to have all his equilibrium messed up. You can't get it back out. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's. You would never think that could be the thing that could disarm somebody, or you know, save the life of a passenger. Yeah, or all the passengers. Yeah, well, all the passengers. Yeah. But, and we all have these. It's just a mess. Wow. That's why I'm almost afraid that, because, you know, some of our listeners are not the brightest people in the world. Right. So, well, maybe we and we love you. But maybe we don't put this on. You know, that's, oh no, it would be great ratings if someone actually used it because of our show. So these are kind of crazy, right? So
improperly, if you know how to use it properly and secure it properly, it is an asset and it can save your life. Somebody else.
I was talking to one of our really good clients. She's the one that just purchased the, hey, I want to make my own Defender program, right? So it's our first run through that. What you know, what's gonna work with all of that, and part of that was, of course, interpreting what she was doing, and in, I guess, a prior conversation I had with her, when she gets startled, she puts her hands to her chest. And I said, well, maybe you want to put a hand out, you know, learn when you get startled to put a hand out to interpret whoever's coming at you. But I said, the fact that you at least go to your chest or your heart, oh my gosh, well, look what I got on. Don't change the right hand. You know, if she's right-handed, don't change your favorite hand. You should go to your heart. Oh, yeah, that's right. I got this, you know.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But weapons retention is one of those things. My brother Ruben he goes over to Yellow Mart to get CO2 gas for us. And man, he said that people are flowing in there buying handguns like nobody's business. And of course, the CCW people are doing it over Zoom now. I think they still have to shoot somewhere, you know, I hope. You know, but you think about that, and I probably need to try to go through a CCW out here just to experience it. But you know, with the Marines, when I helped with the Marine Corps stuff, we spent a fair amount of time on weapons retention, and rightfully so. You know, people coming in from behind you and getting a hold of your weapon and disarming you and shooting you. That's just not good. But I don't know where there are with all of that stuff. You don't know, but if you have a Defender and a weapon, go ahead, take my gun.
You're you're absolutely right. That is a big part. Through my training with the NYPD, albeit 30 years ago, basically securing somebody and locking them to your weapon gave you the ability to grab one of your non-lethals,
right,
and not have to actually struggle with them for the firearm. Of course, your fastest second tool is your second firearm.
right.
In my instance with police, but to have your baton, your mace,
Yeah,
cuff control, knowledge of how to secure your weapon is key. And without that, the lay person who's taken a course in firearm safety is learning not how to shoot somebody when they're loading and unloading, not necessarily retaining their gun.
Yeah, I don't know what the status is. I know I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but I just remember so many times was going through and filming weapons retention, you know, from long rifle to pistol, and all the various aspects of that. The long rifle stuff, I'd seen all of that before. The pistol stuff was interesting. And they were more centered on locking their hand onto the pistol than using their body to throw a person or to
that
do
is
a wrist
100%
lock.
what I was trained, basically,
and
to lock them on
yep,
to your holster
or
their gun, keep it
yep,
in the holster,
yep,
and utilize with them off balance
yep,
by stepping back and eliminating the threat by taking out an elbow,
yep,
or pulling them so far off balance that they're unable to continue their attempt at your weapon.
yeah. The things that I probably need to add some of that into our defender curriculum. When somebody grabs your wrist, what are you going to do? And we do cover some of that stuff, but there's so many options with this tool that you just don't have, with a firearm, and the same close quarter battle aspect with wrist locks and takedowns and, pressure points with points. As a matter of fact, we were playing yesterday. You can show your wound and I'll show mine, but yeah, there you go. That came from the new tool, matter of fact, and using the new tool got me that, so there you go. So I need some of your healing crystals to put on.
Yes.
Which you have back there. You have some.
Yeah.
Tell us about your crystals for a second, because nobody in the defender world's ever heard about them.
Yes. We work with crystals over here. Everything is not about necessarily offense.
Mm-hmm.
This is a labradorite stone, which is basically a protection stone against nefarious intentions, persons that are looking to deceive. I find that to be a crystal that helps me sift through the BS, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Some people have different needs. Basically, what you find yourself attracted to with crystals is what you should be utilizing. I have copper that I wear. Copper is a grounding agent, keeps you down to earth and in the now. Important things to do with situational awareness, and when you're looking to basically defend yourself, you want to be in the now. In regards,
the aspect, we have a person connected to us named Dave Harris, and he's a Chinese herbal medicine kind of very interesting guy. Can do it through the telephone even, to change your aura.
Yes.
and work with you. So the very different things, so a lot of the defender people have different skill sets than I would normally have. Me, I'm just, whatever, I'll get through it, whatever, I don't need that, whatever, and so at any rate, the other thing, so in the big defender world, we've made this big shift over to creating injury, right? The new extraordinary tools that we're making, that are handmade, by the way. This is the new one. You saw it yesterday.
Yes.
Our first wrap of a defender itself. And it actually came, this is our Hannah. Let's get our Hannah out here. So Carrie Sensei had made one of these long ago in Delron material. Now I'm going to get geeky as an engineer. And nice idea, no cigar to a large extent, but really nice concept to have a offset asymmetric blade to work with. And we used it to open boxes. We get a lot of Amazon boxes, as you know, out here. Harry lives out here in the same compound that I do, way out. There's nothing out here, everything's a long way away. And so, we just did this, and the more we looked at it, and I said, Ruben, can you make me one of these in acrylic, and he did, and Carrie Sensei was up and showed Ruben how to wrap this thing. There's a whole big technique on how to wrap it, and the entrepreneur in me says, hey, there's a product here. Now, I'm not into making plastic knives or acrylic knives, and that's something I just haven't ever gone down. But an acrylic box opener, why not? And the more we worked with it, and then we got colors and a whole bunch of different stuff. And then I said, man, we're still not thinking big enough. We've got to carry it somehow. And so we've got our black Kydex holster. And it would have to be a friction grab. Here I'm getting geeky again, and you can't let the sides out because it would ultimately fall out, in my opinion, but there is the approach, and there's enough space in here that if you had costume jewelry, like a necklace for a female, because this is more pointed towards female of the species. And so we're walking down a line, but I found hot pink hexagon plastic that we're going to order to try to make our various Hannahs have an option for a neck rig or a purse rig or something, with a costume jewelry thing on there. But then we have our kanji, which is the same as on my shirt. I'm always backwards here, so I point the wrong way, but it's the same. And isn't that gorgeous? So you saw the first one yesterday. It really looks nice. And of course, you can't have a kanji and have it wrapped because you wrapped up the kanji, but we're going to be offering our kanji back again. And we used to be very popular. We had it offered, I'd say 6-8 years ago. And it means patient spirit. Basically, what that kanji means is patient spirit. And that's kind of sort of what we are. We don't do anything until we absolutely have to. And this, of course, is a ninja version of our extraordinary defenders. And this isn't even for sale yet. And this, which you like the grip, by the way. I took your suggestion, and you can see we curved it a bit on the back. And now you can see that I've got all the space here made a little longer, so it should fit your hand pretty darn well. And so when you come down,
yes, I was a big fan of the wrap. I felt like it held even better and was more comfortable for my hand.
Yeah.
My hand being a little larger than yours, it was more comfortable and gave me a more of a secure feeling. But
yeah.
I have to say, as much as you're calling the Hannah a female device, I found that very comfortable. I kind of really feel that one, due to its thinness, gives it a different layer of stealth in having that as part of your toolbox. Basically.
Yeah, we have to work on the whole Hannah series. I mean, it's certainly very cool, and we have a number of different Hannah not designs, the wraps. You can say what color you want. This is the hot pink version with a pink wrap. But, on the website, you can have clear, red. I'll float in a picture post-production. But you can have, you pick the color you want for the Hannah and the wraps. And then the lanyards that we're offering at the moment, we have 6 different colors of this. So this is an optional thing. You have to buy that separate, but, and of course these things, I think you have one too there. They snap apart you know, so
Yes,
you
I
can
do.
put this on.
As we talk about
There you
my
go.
keys to my golf cart
There you go.
with the breakaway
There you go. And
with your original Defender.
I just stabbed myself. Thank you very much. I tell you, I have to give my brother hazardous duty pay for packing all this stuff out. I just filled in orders like I stabbed myself 3 times. Like, oh my golly. But so we're in Defender Central really trying to branch out and offer a whole lot more capability and individuality and what people want to carry and how they work. We still have the standard line that gets a little bit more aggressive each time, and then our extraordinary stuff, and then intellectual property. So, well, that's what it is. It's IP.
Yes, sir.
And
absolutely.
I had you read the newest version is Design Your Own Self-Defense program. It's kind of an open book, lots of places to take it. And I'm sure that your experience said, yeah, well, we need this, we need to do that. And that's precisely what I wanted to hit, was to get people to do some research, because your self-defense plan or your girlfriend Jennifer's are completely different than mine or even Ruben's, because of where we travel and what we do. And so you have to ask questions, not tell them what they have to do. You have to, ask them to think about it, but what's really important,
absolutely,
in my opinion, is one of the things from Anjing Banfa or my martial art, are these simple engineered protocol, simple weapons disarms. There's 4 rules. Got to clear the angle of attack. You have to control the weapon, you have to disarm the weapon, and you have to neutralize the opponent. Now, that gets to be a little hairy, no pun intended for your name, but
yes,
what you're going to do to neutralize them is different in many different situations, mind you. And then the 4 laws of violent attack, once you learn those, you can break the mugging or violent attack at any one of the 4.
About the 4 laws of attack, I think it's really important for parents to be proactive about their children's and teens and young adults' self-defense, their ability to give them a battling chance, and I'll have another video on that. But there are 4 basic stages of a violent attack that I want to talk about. The first stage is you are in the wrong place at the right time. Now, sometimes we find ourselves in cities, or all of a sudden we realize, geez, this is not a nice neighborhood, or geez, this has developed into a dangerous place. And so your situational awareness, which you need to develop, all of a sudden says, hey, I'm in the wrong place at the right time. I'm on the path of getting attacked. Rule number 2 is you have to be noticed. In other words, they're going to look at you. I mean, they can't attack you if they can't see you, obviously. And so by understanding that you are in a bad place at the right time, these steps you can do to get yourself out of it. Let me just back up. Wrong place at the right time, drive out, go someplace else, go into a store, call for help, whatever. That's how you get out of the first one. The second one is, in fact, you have to be noticed. Now, if you think about this, if you walk with confidence, if you walk with a good stride, if you get a lot of scanning and eye contact, criminals don't want to attack you. You look too well trained. This is the place where in Musashi's martial arts world, he was Japan's greatest swordsman, Musashi's Book of 5 Rings. One of his parables that he always put in there, one of his practicing principles, is paint the picture you want your opponent to see. Very key point. If you are tracking and you're getting eye contact and you're looking around and you're moving with confidence, the criminals that are looking at you, they would rather pick the person who isn't as aware or looks physically able to defend themselves. They go someplace else. All right. Number 3, they have to approach you and they have to pick up a dialogue. Now, here is another place where you paint the picture you want your opponent to see. They may ask for directions. They may ask for time. They may ask for money. They may ask for, oh gosh, purchasing drugs. And all you got to do is paint the picture. Now, what picture do you think that criminal wants to see or doesn't really want to see? Well, you're an off-duty cop. Think that out. You're an undercover cop. You turn around and start asking them questions. Have you seen these bad people? Have you seen this over here? But you've got to have this awareness already kicked in. And they're going to look, completely a different direction. They're going to not want to approach you when you talk like that. Now, how do you know you're going to transfer from the conversation to the attack? And I have lots of people say, hey, they've got their defender, but the guy's yelling at them, and how do you know you don't want to start the fight? Okay, which we really never want to start a fight in most cases. Well, when the person you're talking to uses foul language typically, or demands something, and it gets inside your 3-foot rule, there's a little space around us at 3 feet, and anybody gets inside that, you get a little nervous, and for fighters, they cross from the far field to the near field attack range. And right away, you're going to get attacked if they're using foul language. So just strap in, here it comes. And again, they usually give you great gifts by grabbing a hold of you, whatever. With your defender, you can cause him the bad day very quickly. But you need to make sure you don't get in a stance. They pull a gun, don't get in a stance, you're going to get shot. Okay, it's stupid. What you want to do cleverly is navigate your way to soft targets. You want to get your hands close enough to eyeballs. You want to get your hands close enough to their groin. You want to get close enough that you could kick their knee out, and they would never see it because they were stupid and closed the distance on you. You want to get close enough to take an eye out with the defender. You want to get close enough to maybe even hit them in the head, strike them in the head, break their teeth, cut across their throat, cut across a big poke and drag down the temple, cause some serious damage.
The mugging or violent attack at any one of the four. First you have to be at the wrong place at the right time. So you're driving into town, and all of a sudden, rule one is you stop or you park to get out at a bodega maybe, and you look around and tough neighborhood. You hadn't thought about it. Well, okay, that's step number one. You're in the wrong place. So get back in the car, stay in the car, go to someplace safer. Number two, you're going to get out of the vehicle, and you will be recognized. People will see you. All right. So you want to paint the picture you want your opponent to see, so to speak. Walk with confidence, looking, eye contact, awareness is up, situational awareness up. Maybe look a little athletic, and they don't want to attack somebody like that. They want to go after some old guy like me, but somebody like you that walks around, I'll go after Master Brusso, even though you don't know I am that guy, but I'm their worst nightmare, hopefully. And so there's that. Rule number two. And rule number three is you have to be approached. Obviously, you can't be mugged until you're approached, right? They're going to approach you, and they're going to pick up a dialogue. They're going to say, what are you doing? Whatever they're going to say. What are you looking for? I'm an off-duty cop. Now we're painting the picture again. And my partner's right over here. So, I'm just going to go over and see my off-duty partner here. They don't want anything to do with the cop. Now, maybe they do now, but maybe they don't want their parole officer to know. I'm a parole officer. Oh, don't want anything to do with that. Whatever it is, right? And so that number three says they have to get inside of your area, your 3-foot rule, basically, and pick up a dialogue. And that dialogue, when it goes to foul language or insulting language, now you're stepping into number 4. Attack is imminent. And now you need to close the distance to get your hands on something worthwhile. or get back in the car, or whatever you can do to foil that. But so anyway, the intellectual property that goes along with all this stuff is starting to become more and more, I think, important, more and more of a shift for the defenders. Like, I'm going to be asking people to get the Be Real book and learn that doesn't have a defender in it at all, but it does go through simple stuff that works in combat, breaks and some punches and some things like that, to include anti-carjack. Where you don't walk into a Taekwondo school not to insult them, but yeah, I want some anti-carjack training. What? It's not their bailiwick. So this book, Be Real, is another piece of the IP puzzle. So we've got these two. The third one I'm writing, which is Simple Weapon Disarms. If a person just had all of that underneath them before they got this or a gun, they'd be in good shape. So that's kind of sort of where Defender Central is heading these days.
You brought up a really valid point in your book, which I think is one of the keys to everything in regards to what your book is about, your self-defense plan. And people have to realize that their instincts are real.
Oh yeah.
And when you go and you drive and you pull into these situations, this parking lot, this dark alley, this street, not enough people around, you have to follow and trust your instincts and your gut to be true, that you are aware that this situation is there. You also have to be mindful of your own skill set in what you're able to do and capable of, because you may not have that ability to disarm, and that might be your last resort. So you giving the advice to, drive around the block or go to a different store is really the most important thing, is to trust your instincts and go from there. We want to have to defend ourselves as a last resort. We don't want to. The best defense is to not be there.
Right.
You can't get somebody and hurt them if they're not there.
Right. We have a koan, a little clever saying in my art, that the water has no substance to wet. The bull's horn has no place to land. The knife has no place to cut, because you're just not there. And by the way, I mean, if you can't get back in your car, you move to another safe situation. Maybe you go into that bodega, maybe you go into the police station, maybe you go into the hospital right down the street. Anything that's safer than just being naked out on the street there. And then probably going to be talking, I used to do a great women's self-defense series, an 8-week series. And we used to take, I call them the girls, probably not politically correct today, but that's okay. If you learn who I am, I'm probably not politically correct, and that's okay. I feel like I'm one of those things that, a glass container where you've seen fire extinguishers, right? In case of emergency, a little hammer, break the glass to get to the fire extinguisher. I'm kind of like, in case of war, break the glass and let the son of a gun out. Yeah, well, that's me. Right. But anyway, we take them for a walk after dark in the city. And of course, I had my guys in strategic positions, but here I am with 10 or 12 women dressed in black with hats on and everything, and not standing in the light, but using the shadows to move, using the glint of the car lights to see what's underneath things, picking their route to the next safe part. And then as they're going down, if there's an alley, they move away from the alley, so they give themselves more time to intercede with somebody, step off the curb, that you don't have to fight on that curb. All of these various things, of course. So I'm thinking, as we're talking, what I need to do is just probably write some papers and get them out there. As in my A. Weber guys, I hammer them pretty hard with offers and this and that, but that's what they're there for. That's what they want to hear. But I like to always give like 3 offers and then some information. That's a good idea to bump that up and get that out there.
Well, tactics are key. What we, through NYPD, were trained. That's a version of tactics, which situational awareness is a big part of tactics. You know, I'll give you an example. When I was a rookie in transit, when we would elevate a staircase, we would take our hat off so we can peek up and see our surroundings prior to giving them a bullseye with a big shield on the top of the hat, so they wouldn't notice that you were anything different prior to getting up.
Right.
These are just things that you start. It's almost as if tactics is a way of life more so than a situation that you put somebody in there. You have to be it and realize at all times that you don't know when the situation is going to call for the need. So preparation is key.
One of the things why we had hats on is the brim hat in particular, so that they can, if they stay in the shadows, they'll get night vision. It takes about 20 minutes, right? You don't want to look at a light. You certainly don't want to look at a headlight because it will ruin your night vision. So as they're walking, they keep their brim down to block the light out, but they can still see it bounce underneath cars, but it doesn't take their night vision away in our case, right? Keep them in the shadows.
Yeah.
If you're in the shadows, you
Totally.
typically, I mean, how stupid is it to tell somebody to go stand underneath a street light? Everybody sees you. They can analyze who you are, what you got, everything. You keep them in the shadows, they go, oh my God, who's that in the shadows? They're going to mug me. I'm out mugging people. They're going to mug me. Oh my gosh, you know,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it gets and like 10 people in the shadows. Oh shoot,
Yes.
there's a gang in the shadows, and I'm a solo operator. I'm out of here, you know. But you know, all of that stuff is really, really, really important. I have to write that stuff down. You have to.
It really is. Which,
yeah.
I mean, the exact, you know, to the converse with the police. If you ever been pulled over at night, what's the first thing that they do? They shine a spotlight directly in your mirrors, so it shines in your face and blinds you. So they have the tactical advantage of night vision because it's to their back. They're able to see, and you're not able to when you do it. This is just a situational advantage, which is exact tactic that you're talking about.
Yeah.
In a civilian aspect.
Yeah, yeah. So that's pretty cool. Also, we won't talk about it, but I'm going to hint towards it. There's a program, a package I'm putting together in a whole plan that we're calling the Survivor Package.
Tell me about it. What is the Survivor Package?
Well, I can tell you a little bit, but
right.
if
how about a breadcrumb?
Breadcrumb, yes. Uvalde is the breadcrumb.
Okay.
And
now we can look and investigate.
Yeah, yeah. So I've got a couple of people that are helping me work with that. But if you were left, basically, I could even work for, okay, so, well, it doesn't count. I hire your girlfriend, Jennifer, who isn't a martial artist, to come down and take care of me. Now she has this responsibility. And if we get a home invasion, she's got to deal with it, right?
Yes.
Well, and she wants to be a survivor. Well, what is it that she would have to learn to do and execute? Don't answer the question. The plan that I have is basically, if you've got an active shooter and you're alone in a classroom, what do you got to know? And it isn't a firearm. So what do you got to know? And we're going to try to get a whole package that is an option for people who are daycare, church, whatever, that you have a congregation of people, a minister even. You want to be able to survive it and have your flock survive whatever it is that you're up against. And it's all legal stuff, but it's a package, it's a way of thinking, it's a set of techniques, it's things like that they could opt into that's affordable, legal. And if I was a teacher and they say I couldn't defend myself, and the active shooter comes in, I'll worry about the legal stuff later, but I'm going to survive and take care of my kids. You betcha.
Absolutely.
And we have a
Absolutely.
guy in Texas who's a teacher and has had to do that, literally. And he used a RP Defender to do it, and one of our tools. And so he's going to be a major player. And I might drag you into that if you're interested in being a consultant into the middle of all of this mess and giving us your insight and words of wisdom. But we want to survive. That's it, and not be sheep. And what's it going to take?
Absolutely.
As a package. Boom, here it is in a box.
Absolutely.
Go away. Learn this stuff, But,
it is a key important factor, no different than any disaster preparedness kit. You have to look at it as an essential, a first aid kit, a, earthquake supply kit. Well, you know what? A survival kit is just as important, because if something did happen to the level of an earthquake disaster, the next thing you're going to need is your survival kit, or your stuff won't be there.
By the way, we probably need to have a facility out here someplace for earthquake survival, like get a trans container that we control and lock and put goods and stuff like that on there. Just thinking, just saying out loud,
Yes,
I know
absolutely.
the guys on the Hill have one. So we should probably look at something like that as a group. But anyway, all right, Harry, any questions for me before we call it a day?
I am A-okay. I think that I don't have anything specific for you.
This was easy, wasn't it? Kind of fun.
It was not bad. No, not at all.
Great. All right. Say goodnight, Harry.
Good night, Harry.
All right.
Keep a good stance right before you advance. That's sincere. Keep in control. You got